Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where Angie and I thought that we would continue on the signs track because still a lot of signs that we haven't got to discuss, things that continue to happen. And some of them you can clearly kind of get and see the pieces. Others you're kind of thinking about and trying to figure out as you go, but all continuing to just let us know that we're not always in control, but we love the signs when we get them. And it kind of starts for our family. Feathers are a really important thing. Talk about that?
Yeah, I think that started in high school when Hallie described me as a mama bird and teaching her baby birds to fly. And that kind of flowed into a bird thing and that analogy. And that's when Hallie went to get her first tattoo. So I'm like, if you're going to get a tattoo, I'm going with you and I'll get one with you. And so her and I came up with the bird tattoo on my wrist. So it was just kind of a thing between her and I, which led into the theme of getting a bird tattoo anytime one of the kiddos leaves the nest. So now I have 2 because Lexi went off to college. Carter and I are going to go when he graduates. We'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, see what you get, but what he gets is what I'm worried about.
I don't know if he'll get something or not. He's not sure. And then, that's the theme of the children's book that I wrote with Feathers Matter. So they do matter. They're important to us. Hence also the cardinal, the injured cardinal that showed up on our doorstep the first night we stayed at Hallie's house.
Such a crazy thing.
And feathers were on the porch. Hallie stuck feathers in her cowboy hats often. It's just a thing between her and I, but it's also kind of started to be a sign for you a little bit. Yeah,
I think over the last week we talked about the signs book that you're reading, and so I'm trying to be more open to the signs with Hallie. I've started talking to my dad again and looking for signs from him. But with Hallie, feathers I know those were something that she loved. There were times I would see a feather, I'd grab it, I would give it to her because she loved feathers. And so I knew pretty quick after she passed, I was going to want to get a tattoo, and I knew it was going to be a feather. So a feather with either her name or her initials in it. And in the last month, I was playing in a golf tournament with a coworker, and he is my lead graphic designer. And I was kind of telling him this. And he's like, we're about the same age. We worked together for 15 plus years. He's like, you don't know this about me. But he goes, honestly, I actually just wanted to be like a tattoo design artist growing up. And that's how he kind of got into graphic design work. So I was telling him what I wanted. And he's like, oh my gosh, you could take it and like do it here. And it could be kind of wavy. And I can totally make that up for you. And I already have like a cross on my wrist. He's like, we could take the feather up into the cross like it's going up into heaven, and just super cool. So we're on the golf course when we're talking about that. And like within the next hole, like either that hole or the next hole, I look down where I hit my ball and there's a feather right next to it. How crazy is that? And the only feather I see all day on the golf course. But right then there, and I texted you immediately. I was like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. And I just knew that Hallie was with me in that moment. And she's like, yes, I want you to get that tattoo. Like that's perfect kind of thing is definitely how that felt. Yeah.
Well, you and I were talking about that, I said it would be awesome if out of the feather you had some birds flying out of it that matched my wrist. And so it's kind of signifies the same thing. And then probably a week later, one of my good friends sent me a picture and said, oh, this made me think of you and your family. And she's not aware of any of these conversations that we've had. And on the back of this minivan is a feather with the birds coming out of it. And it's like, I just messaged her back. I'm like, oh my God, that literally is the tattoo that Aric is talking about getting. And it was just on the back of this minivan. And what made her take a picture of it and text it? Like, that's all different nudges and things happening to say, hey, send that to them. It's a lot of this God light that's happening in the world that people don't even realize. And it's comforting. Like, it's comforting for you when you saw the feather on the golf course of like, okay, Hal.
For sure.
I see you.
I see you, and I see that you approve of what I want to get. And it's also something for me that, you just said, like, what are the odds? Well, I think there are no coincidences with God. I recently finished reading the book by Granger Smith called Like a River. And, he's a country star that his son at 3 years old drowned in their pool in their backyard. And him and his other 2 kids were playing not far from there. It was a fenced in pool. I mean, it was tragic, tragic, tragic. And through that tragedy, him and his wife have completely just given their lives to Jesus. And in doing that, what he says is, there are no coincidences with God. Everything God does is with a purpose. And so whether it's an incredible blessing in your life, you're like, oh, God really blessed me, or it's an incredible tragedy. Well, God's also he's given you both the blessings and the tragedy for a higher purpose, a bigger purpose, and a purpose that we may not understand until we go be with Jesus in heaven, but it's a purpose nonetheless. And so I just think, when somebody snaps you a picture, and it's something we've talked about and they have no idea, it's for sure a sign. It's God saying, yeah, everything you guys are saying and thinking, 100%, I'm with you. I'm orchestrating all of these things. And that's where we're going.
Yeah, there's also signs that are wake-up calls. Not all of them are like, ooh, that's so comforting, and I feel the love.
Yeah.
Some are like, oh, shit. Better wake up. So we have all of our kids back in school now, and really, was a seamless process except for the last one. The last kiddo to go to school.
Going into his senior year of high school. Yeah.
Carter, our big bad senior. His first day of school. It was he was a week delayed, so that's why he was very last, because their school had some construction that took a little bit longer. But started out like any other morning, like, hey, we're taking your last little pic out in front of the house, like, most parents do, snap the unwanted pic. And he was kind of on his way, and I was right behind him with the twins, take them to school.
I think I hugged him. I was like, hey, have a great year. I took Dane to school.
And Aric had left earlier to take Dane. So, typical household, we're going in like 3 different directions. He left, and then like my phone rang. I'm heading out the door pretty much, and it's Carter. He's like, hey, Andrew, I just wrecked my car. I'm like, what? Where are you? Like, he literally just left. He's like, oh, I'm in the subdivision. Okay, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, but I think I totaled the car. What? How? Like, what'd you do? Did you hit a car? Like, is the other person hurt? And he's like, no, but I do think I totaled the car. I just hit this other car. Okay, I'm like, all right, well, we're heading out the door. I'll be there. So I'm telling Chase and Summer this, and Chase walks outside of our house, and he's like, oh, I can see Carter. Like, you could literally see him from our house.
Like 6 houses down.
6 houses down. And I go out and look, and he's just standing there, like, waving at us, like, hi, I wrecked my car.
Oh, my gosh.
So we go up there, and, yeah, he hit a parked...
It was like a late 90s Crown Victoria.
Like a boat.
Oh my gosh.
Steel boat.
He kept saying to me afterwards, he's like, Dad, I don't understand. Like, that car barely has any damage to it. And I'm total. I was like, those late 90s Crown Vics, son, they're built like tanks. That's how they used to make cars.
I think he busted out the taillight of the other car.
That's about it.
And he was driving a Toyota Avalon, so not a tiny car, well-built car, and totaled it by hitting a parked car. He moved that big ass car 7 feet and then pushed it up on a curb 6 houses down from our house on his senior year.
At the end of the day, he's like, he took on, like, neighbors came by, or they would message me like, your son took ownership. Like, he stood out there, could have made excuses, and he was just like, yeah, no, sun was kind of in my eyes. I reached to get my sunglasses, and I hit a parked car. He's like, I did that. Nobody's fault but mine, and I wasn't paying good enough attention, and I did that.
And the airbag went off, and the airbag didn't even hit him in the face.
I asked him that.
Where was your face?
And he's like, well, I was reaching for my sunglasses.
Yes. So incredibly grateful that he did not get hurt, that someone else did not get hurt. Someone could have been walking their dog. They could have,
I met Tim, our neighbor. He was super nice. Yeah, for sure.
He lucked out. But one thing I did notice in the car that he hit, the license plate had die on
It
the
did,
last three.
D-I-E.
Yes. I'm like, okay. This might be a warning sign from Hallie. Like, you guys better be careful when you're driving. Everybody needs to pay attention. Like, you and I need to do a better job of that, because I know not too long ago I about hit a big ass dumpster in our subdivision because the guy, there was a bunch of mud in his driveway and it had dried, and he was using a leaf blower and blowing it across the street, and it was dark, and so was the big dumpster. Not paying attention. Like, I should have been paying attention more, but I didn't hit it, but almost. So it's just like, I feel like that's a sign of love. Like, pay attention.
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
But there's lessons with that, right? He had it good. And I told him, like, you have it good. Like, the car that we gave him, he paid like $2,500 to us for it. But it's worth a lot more than that. I just wanted him to have some skin in the game. But we were paying his insurance, all of that. So now it's like, bud, you're going back to work. You're paying the difference in insurance. And if there's any difference in the car after, what they give us for it, because it's hard to get a car right now, as many of you know, you're going to have to be responsible for that too. So it's time to go back to work. And he wasn't really thrilled with that his senior year. His sophomore year, he had a job. And then last year, he kind of stopped going because he was playing all these sports. And so he stopped working. And then I'm like, you're working. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. So he has to go back to work. And we're trying to figure out a vehicle for Carter to drive. And it'll work out. You know what I've learned, especially if we go back to last week's episode, I'm not in control.
Not in control.
I can't let it stress me out. God will provide something in this scenario when God decides that it's right. And that's what it'll be. And as you've said before and continue to say, we've talked about letting loose of control and surrendering things to God. That's what I'm going to try to do in this situation. How are you going to do? What do you?
Well, I mean, that is top of mind for me. It's a constant focus for me because I was such a control freak. But, funny story in that, Chase and Summer are at a new school, and Chase is playing a new sport for him. So first time playing soccer as a freshman, so a little bit intimidating, but I'm always preaching to them about getting outside of their comfort zone. So there's actually a tradition with the soccer moms that they get together and they decorate the boys' lockers. And that's uncomfortable for me because I'm just not the PTA type of mom. Like,
you're not that mom.
That is not my strong suit.
If you are that mom, God bless you. You're amazing.
I
working
envy
hard.
them.
But that's never been Angie's strong suit. That's not what she does. She does everything for her kids, but she's not like showing up to the school to run the PTA.
I just feel uncomfortable. Like, I could be in a meeting with 50 people at work, but like, you get me around like school events and I'm just like, I personally just feel like a fish out of water. It's just not my.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. It just never has been. I was on the school board at one time and I did enjoy that, but that was because it felt like you're like running a meeting. But
I believe that. Yeah. Okay. I can see you doing that. Were you the president of the school board?
No.
You could have
been.
No,
but I really did enjoy that role. It was quite interesting.
Interesting. We can make you mayor of Columbia.
Oh.
We need a good mayor.
I'll be mayor of Florida. How about that?
Okay. All right. Mayor of South Walton. All right. Here we go. All right.
Goals. All right. Goals. So in preparation for this locker decoration night, I printed out a picture of Chase playing soccer. I printed out a quote. He loves David Goggins, who's this like dude that is hyper control.
Ex-military guy.
He loves him. So I found a quote that I thought was perfect because the quote was, everyone has a chance to come from nothing and become something. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's relevant. It's his first time playing soccer, and he's intimidated, so it's a great quote. Printed out soccer. I'm ready to go. I'm going to go to this locker decoration night with these moms. And we'll meet people because I don't know any of these moms.
And you were excited about it. Like, we had talked about it. You were ready to go do it. I was actually like, I'm surprised she's doing this. But I could tell you were excited about it. And I was like, okay, let's go.
Kids. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I don't want Chase to walk in there the next morning because I don't know if the boys really knew what was happening. But in him not have a locker decoration or not one that I actually did. So I'm on calls. I'm like running out of the house, heading to the school. I'm on a work call the entire time, driving to school, get there, pull up like, hey, gotta go. I've got this 6:00 event. And I go to grab the pictures that I printed out of my backpack, and they're not in there.
Carter and I were driving to see Phoenix, our Hallie Legacy horse, and I got a frantic message from Angie. She was incredibly upset, and I was like, well, we can turn around. I can go get the pictures. I can meet you halfway. What do you want to do? And her letting control. Yeah, her letting control. I thought for sure she'd be like, yes, do that. And she was like, no, it is what it is. I'm just going to go with it. And I was very impressed by that. But then you went with it. And
well, I felt like the walk of shame walking into school. I had nothing. I had nothing in my hands. So I walk in and I'm like, sit down, find a spot with other moms who have their scissors and their paper.
Crickets. Anybody bring a cricket?
Oh, there's so many crickets. And pictures of their kids. And I'm like, oh, God, I suck.
I mean, I think she said that to me. I was like, you got to like,
I just looked at these moms. I'm like, I forgot all the stuff at the house. And I'm going to have to borrow everything. I'm like looking around at what people have in their little stash.
She was not feeling good about it in the moment. I would say that.
No, I was really mad at myself. So we dive into the locker decoration. I write the quote out on the little locker magnet thing we were creating. Some of the moms did make me feel better because she was like, I was going to bring a picture of my son, but he told me, I guess he has been there multiple years, so he knows what the moms do with this locker decoration. And he would, he said, don't be putting my picture on that. I'd be embarrassed. I'm like, oh, okay. Chase would probably be embarrassed too if I put his picture on there. So it made me feel a little bit better. Anyway, I'm like the first one done.
Because you had pictures ready to go. You had pictures on ready to go. Yeah.
I'm like one of the first ones done because I'm just kind of like, let me get out of here because I feel so.
Did you like glue macaroni noodles on some?
It was almost.
Okay.
Almost. No. But there was a hot glue gun involved. I do remember how to use that. Okay, so I get through that. And the next morning I'm kind of like excited because he's going to walk in there and he's going to see the effort that I put in. So I don't ask him directly. I message Summer because their lockers are right next to each other. I'm like, Summer, did Chase like his locker decoration? And she's like, no. I'm like, what?
So you were like, did you think that he was upset because it wasn't enough or?
No, I don't know why I don't know. She's like, no. I'm like, okay, why not? Well, then she wouldn't answer me. So then at the end of the day, I'm like, Chase, did you like your locker decoration? He's like, no, I moved it on the inside of my locker. I'm like, what?
What?
Mom, that quote was cringy. I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, here I put this effort into it, and he moves it to the inside of his locker so nobody can see it. And I said, did like other people do that too? And he's like, nope.
Just Chase. That's Chase. That's on brand for Chase. That is on brand for him. So
again, you're not in control of even what your kids think about the effort that you're putting in. So you just surrender. You do what you can. And at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Seems on point, on brand.
I mean, I thought I was like doing amazing with that quote, but apparently that made him put it on the inside of his locker door.
I think he would have put anything on the inside of his locker. If I'm being honest, knowing Chase the way I do, I think he would have put anything on that whatsoever. So
I tried. I was
proud of you. And again, as I mentioned a minute ago, I was proud of you for not being upset that it didn't go the way you thought it was going to go because the things got forgotten. And I just thought she's going to be devastated. Carter, we got to turn around. And then you didn't. And you did good.
No, I was mad at first. And then it's just like, you know what? It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like last week. I couldn't control an airplane. And so I just got to give these things up. You gave that up.
Going to make the connecting flight. We'll make the connecting flight. If not, we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And you keep doing that. So then also in the last couple of weeks, I'm at work. And Angie and I typically message pretty often throughout the day. And I'll be honest with you, I find that to be healthy in a relationship. I feel like when I talk to friends and they don't ever talk to their spouses throughout the day, I don't think that ever goes well. So I always enjoy when I get a message from my wife or vice versa. I send something to her and we're just kind of conversing about how the day is going. And so a couple of weeks ago, in the middle of the week, I get a message from Angie. Well, let me start by saying that morning you seemed a little off, but at this point, I don't really think much about that anymore because one, when I ask you, you get upset because you're like, sometimes I'm just not.
I don't get upset. There's times where you're like, what's wrong? And I'm just kind of like looking at him like.
Well, and not only that.
You just never know from one moment to the next. Like, how you're going to feel.
Yeah. So I'm trying to be cognizant of that and not ask all the time when I notice something's up. And that morning I had. 2, you had shared something on our Blended Blessed page, I think in the last week, which is so true. It's like, I'm a morning person. I wake up, I roll out of bed. I'm like, good morning.
You ready for the day?
You are beautiful. And you're, shut up. I will eat you. I will rip my face off and eat you. Don't even talk to me like that. And I'm like, oh, I just love you so much.
I don't even say anything to you.
No, she just looks at me like, oh, God. So anyway, I could just tell something wasn't right. So anyway, we get to late morning in the middle of the week, and I get a message from Angie, and she says to me, did you say to me in the middle of the night, are you with me? No, I did not. And I know I didn't because I didn't sleep well that night. I laid awake a lot. I didn't sleep a whole lot. So I was like, yeah, no, definitely did not say, are you with me? So what happened to you that night?
Well, this is a little bit, it's not freaky, but it's the first time that I've ever had something like this happen to me. And by the way, when I asked you that, I knew you didn't say it, but I just...
Oh, really?
I just needed...
This is the first time she said that to me.
I just needed validation. Like, in my mind, I never thought you said it. But then as the day went on, I'm like, okay.
Honey, I have worried about this for 2 weeks that I actually said it. And now I've had... No, I didn't. I'm kidding.
No, but okay. So in the middle of the night, I wake up because somebody said, I hear this man's voice that said, are you with me? And it wasn't scary. I wasn't freaked out. It was like a calming, but like an adamant kind of voice. And where they were expecting an answer. And I knew it wasn't a dream. Like, I didn't wake up and think, oh my God, I was dreaming. Like, I woke up because somebody said something to me. And I knew it wasn't you. It wasn't your voice. And I'm just like, whoa, like someone's talking to me. Like, that's how it felt.
We didn't have kids at home that night either. We should go.
No. And I was telling Chase about this story, and he was like, oh, were you scared? I'm like, no, I wasn't freaked out or anything at all. It was just kind of like, oh, gosh, somebody is specifically talking to me. And this is like one of those signs where it's like, what does that mean? Like, are you with me? And I just felt very compelled to say, yes, I am with you. Like, I almost felt like it was God asking me. But then that's kind of like, feels arrogant to say or something. Like, I'm just like, well, why would he directly talk to me? But I have no other explanation for it because I can tell you it definitely was not a dream. It did not have a dream feel at all. And I definitely felt like the voice was right there.
Yeah, you said it was next to you.
Right, just next to me and directly talking to me. And that was all it was. Are you with me? So 2 days went by and I have, kind of talked. I didn't even say anything to you right away in the morning because I have to process stuff. It's like where you would have woke up that morning and before we even got out of bed, you would have said, guess
100%.
What happened?
That's the difference between me and Angie. I'm like, what did you do? Here's
His
what
thoughts
happened.
immediately come out and I interpret everything first before I think about it. Or before I say anything, I have to analyze it. So that whole morning I'm like, gosh, what does that mean? Like, I have to always try to figure it out. And I kept coming back to like, someone is wanting validation from me that I am following them or that I am with them. And so 2 days later, I open up my devotional for that day and I'm reading through it. And at the very end, the last sentence was, beloved, I am with you. And I'm like, okay, this is that whole process of surrendering control. Like that's what I feel like is happening, and especially in the last month. It is, I am learning, and I feel like the higher power in Hallie wants me they want me to let go of what I thought everything was going to be. And because that's where a lot of deep sadness comes from, is thinking things should be one way versus accepting that the way they are and just believing that there's a higher power at play and it will all be okay in the end. I feel like that's
I feel like
it's a transformation is happening.
Jesus was in your ear that night, confirming, are you with me? So that you would acknowledge, and I see the transformation. You're my very best friend. I see you transforming over the last 9 months into a person that I know you, right? From a morality and like who you are standpoint, same person in that regard, principles, but you're a different person in how you engage with people, how you interact, and how you don't try to control everything. You are changing in all those ways. And part of that is I have watched your relationship with God deepen tenfold in the last 9.5 months of our lives. And so while I hate the reasoning behind it, the beauty of it is an eternity with Hallie, and to try to bring the rest of our family along for the ride with us, and listeners and anybody else who wants to hear our journey with Christ. And that's what's going on. So yeah, super powerful. When you told me, I was like, you don't think it was the devil, do you?
Yeah, that's what he asked me.
You don't think it was the devil, do you? Like,
this is also Aric and I's dynamic. He immediately goes to worst case scenario.
It was the devil. I don't want the devil in our bedroom.
I'm like,
oh God.
No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
I was like, whew, okay, all right. Makes me feel better.
Hey, you have a bruise on your knee. Oh my God, I think you have cancer. That's our dynamic. That's Aric and I'm like, no, honey, it's just a bruise.
For the record, I just want to clarify. Until Hallie died in the last several months, I was not that person that thought I was dying all the time. Just for the record.
You have changed as a person too.
I have, and not in ways that I love. Not in ways that I love.
The other way.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not what I want.
At least both of us are not in the crazy control where we drive everybody crazy around us. But
I mean, I see like being at the ocean at Hallie's house and just sitting and talking to God and everything. Like I see the beauty and the beauty of eternity and where that's all going. But I am definitely in a transition phase right now that I am not necessarily myself, and I'm not necessarily loving, and I'm ready to get out of that phase if I could. I think your phase is very healthy. Mm-hmm. Mine, maybe not so much, would be what I would say. I don't love it, so working through those things.
It does feel healthier for me. Like I feel like in the last month I have been able to take more of a pause and not be so deep in grief. Like that grief will never go away. I think it's the level of drowning. Like I feel like I'm not drowning right now, but I'm able to tread water. Like that's where I feel like I'm floating on my back a little bit and treading the water.
That's fair.
And I'm not like grasping for air like the first 8 or 9 months have felt like. But I think that's because I'm letting go of the life that I envision.
I mean, as I go back to the book I mentioned earlier, the Granger Smith, the country star who lost his son, he talks about that. When you finally decide to give it up, mm-hmm. give everything to God, then all of a sudden it starts to become clear and you start to find an inner peace and you do things for other people. And I know God. I want to be with God. I am definitely struggling to let go of my fears. And so, yeah, you're hitting a point where you're kind of letting go of those fears mm-hmm. of the life you had. And I'm working through that right now. So, all right. Good stuff. Interesting. We've got signs. We've got dreams. Who knows what next week's going to bring? Are you going to do an episode by yourself maybe?
I think that, yeah. I mean, if you're going to, I'm competitive. And if you're going to show up and
she's very competitive,
do an episode without me, then I'm going to have to do one without you.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. You might get an episode from Angie next week by her alone.
We'll see. I'm not in control. You never know what it'll bring.
Yeah. Well, we thank all of you for your love and support. The community that has surrounded us with the Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess podcast has been absolutely incredible. And so we are trying to pay it forward to help others when they're in need. So please always reach out. If we can help you, we would love to. And we appreciate you letting God lead us. And we hope that we are honoring him through all those things. So thanks again for listening. We appreciate you. Hope you have a wonderful week, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.